Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking. I am here, and this is take two, because I realized about 20 minutes into my last rant, there was absolutely no way that, well, I might get YouTube might flag it for some of the words that I was using, and so I realize I need to, uh, take a moment, take a breath, and then uh um settle down a little bit and then talk about what I want to talk about here. I say these things because um I feel bad. This isn't really going to be a rant because of the fact that I think I ranted a lot of my energy out with the stuff that I'm not going to use. But it will be an introspective journey through my own mindset of the topic here about art versus artist, and how we uh, get to a point where like we can accept the fact that human beings are awful and have issues and do horrible things, but they still can make things that we can enjoy. So Uh, I still got this winter cold hanging on, so I do need a little beverage. So occasionally I'll be sipping from my Fanta pineapple. If Fanta would like to sponsor me, I'm not too proud. Be happy to take some Fanta money or even a 12 pack of Fanta for my troubles. But arts and artists and horrible humans that make really cool stuff. How do we um be okay with that? So there's a lot of stuff I can talk about here. There's a lot of different artists that created things that were wonderful, that were enjoyed by me and many other people. And then later on, it is decidedly understood that this person is not a good person. And the stuff, can we touch the stuff that they created without it infecting us? And I think that this comes down to a few different things. It comes down to whether or not we support them financially, and it comes down to time and distance between that thing and the thing that we love, and the thing that they did that was awful. And it comes down to, I guess, I mean, and it's hypocritical, but it comes down to how well we really, really like the thing that they made. So it's so for example, um sounds like, and I don't really pay attention to this stuff, but it sounds like P. Diddy is an awful human being. Well, at least that's what it looks like it's going to turn out to be. Um, I don't care. I mean, I care that he was a horrible human being, and I'm sorry that he hurt those people, and I'm sorry that he was able, because of his power and his, I mean, if allegedly I should I feel bad that if the things that he has been accused of are true, then I feel bad that those people were victimized, and I feel bad that he used his power and his money and his clout to basically allow himself to be unscathed through those processes for as long as they were able to do so. But as far as, oh my gosh, can I enjoy that music anymore? I mean, I don't care. I never enjoyed it before. I'm not going to enjoy it in the future. I mean, that's not something I care about. For the most part, that's what I feel about as far as um uh I'm trying to think of Michael Jackson. Like allegedly the things that he did. I mean, I never really enjoyed his music in the first place. Don't really care. I mean, again, I care if like the things that he actually did do. I care about the victims in the situation, but you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, I just it doesn't take a spot in my brain for me to think about. And then the same thing could be said for like if somebody really, really enjoys P. Diddy's music and they're trying to negotiate their love of that music and the fact that the person that created it is horrible. They probably that they have that mental quandary about that, as opposed to they probably don't, if that person maybe doesn't know or hasn't read anything that Neil Gaiman has created, which is the most recent situation I'm dealing with right now, as far as a creator being a horrible human being, allegedly being a horrible human being. And it is a and whether or not, like, how does that infect my love for Neil Gaiman's creations? And they probably, like, if they don't know or care about the stuff that he wrote, they're probably like, who cares? I don't care. Neil Gaiman wrote Sandman. When I read Sandman, I was very, very young. I mean, obviously, I am 53 years old. I was born in 1971. You do the math. Sandman, somewhere in my mother's basement, there's like hundreds of comic books, and and they aren't the ones I have aren't worth anything because I read and reread them over and over again. They were thoroughly loved by me as a child, and my complete run of Sandman is somewhere in there. Covers falling off. Just I mean, I didn't take care of them, and that's fine. Maybe they'd be worth tens of thousands. My comic collection, if I kept them in hermetically sealed containers and never touched, they might be worth a ton of money right now. But I didn't, so who cares? Doesn't matter. My point is that I loved the Sandman comic, and I read them. And when they eventually came out in trades, I bought all the trades. And I read through all of the trades many times. I mean, I think I said in a Facebook post, I said like 15 times. Um, it's one of the best written uh story arcs in comics ever. I mean, and I have I think I wrote a college paper on it way back in the day. I have talked to other fans of Sandman, and we have just um waxed poetically about it. It is something that has given me a great deal of pleasure and happiness from reading it. And now it has this dirty shit smear over it. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can enjoy it still." But for me, it doesn't work like that. It works from the fact that, like, and I know this is ridiculous, but I mean, it was one of those things where it's like when I read it, I was kind of like, this is like speaking to me on like a certain level. It opened my eyes and my mind to a lot of different ideas that I normally wouldn't have thought of. And I'm not going to do a review of the Sandman comic or anything like that. That isn't my point here. I mean, the point is that, um, and then after that, I checked out other things that Gaiman did too. I mean, and to a lesser extent, I enjoyed them, but I enjoyed them nonetheless. Like American Gods, I really enjoyed that. Uh, my son really enjoyed the Norse gods stuff that he made. So it's one of those things where I'm not going to take all those books and throw them away and burn them or anything like that, but I'm also just hesitant to take them down, and it really pisses me off. And admittedly, allegedly, if he did the things that people are saying that he did, then uh, I shouldn't be nearly be as pissed off as the people that he victimized, allegedly. But I still am angry. I'm angry that, like, I have this thing that up until a few days ago. I mean, I know there was like rumors of like bad stuff going on in the background. Um, that made me go, oh, like I wonder what's going on there. And I didn't dive too deep into it. And then of course the Vulture article came out, and then like the full blast of wow, wow, and I mean, reading that article was tough. It was tough. And I'll be honest, I actually stopped reading it at one point because it was just that tough to read. And then I went back and read it after I'd had a few moments. It was just tough. It was a tough read, I felt like, I mean, I don't know, I felt like because of my own voyeuristic gotta know mentality, but also it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like I don't want to, this sounds stupid, but um, it's good to read about your heroes, about them being awful, so you know what's going on instead of turning a blind eye to it. Um, I don't know if Neil Gaiman will ever like write another book or be able to be published. I mean, people like Roman Polanski, who were, found guilty of the crimes they were tried for, went on to create more movies, and for the most part, other than the fact that they can't, come back to the United States lest they go to prison, has managed to remain fairly unscathed through their process. I mean, other people, I mean, like the one that people bring up a lot is like Lovecraft, but like now we look back and we realize just how racist he was. But he died long before anything could be done with him, and it isn't like his family's getting any money, so we can create all the Cthulhu things we want, and that's one where we feel okay about it, right? I mean, it's easy to feel okay. I mean, I'm sure there's people, and more power to them if that's what they feel. If you feel like I can't enjoy a Cthulhu themed blank because this, like the genesis of this comes from a very racist mind. I get it. I understand it. I'm not there. I guess I'm okay with it. But that's what it is, right? I mean, we each have to figure out what level of whatever we have to know. I know of people that have like that are extremely progressive and liberal people, and they have Harry Potter tattoos, and then the bad transphobic stuff came out about J.K. Rowling, and I've watched them kind of jump through their mental hoops as to why it's okay. And I guess I do understand that as well too. I mean, there's I mean, to be fair, I used to have, and I'm not going to show it to you, but I used to have a tattoo of the Cleveland Indians logo on my shoulder. I got it when I was like 21 years old. I was a big Cleveland Indians fan. And then several years ago, I did a cover up on it when the Cleveland went to the Cleveland Guardians, and I should have done it earlier, quite honestly. I remember I was like, I got kind of this racist thing on my arm. And I remember I always made sure I wore a shirt so you couldn't see it and everything like that. And then I finally got it covered up with this pretty sick looking tattoo of Odin, and all of it, and his crows, Hugin and Lumen. But I mean, anyway, the whole point is that I got rid of it, right? And not everybody wants to do that, right? I mean, like, and so with when it comes to that, and that's fine. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I read all of the I have one of the most beautiful, fantastic memories of Harry Potter of all time. When my first child was born, they were born very premature, and I've talked about it a little bit, but you can't really see, but like I can't turn it well, but you can see there's like footprints right there. That's my first child, and how tiny they are as compared to the giant. Those are birth footprints, and 2 pounds. My first child was born, and now I'm gonna go to college, graduating high school this year. Um, and but To pass the time in the NICU, back in 2007, my wife and I used to read Harry Potter, and we would write down our child's weight and the date and the page we got to each night, and and we still have those books, and it's one of my favorite memories about the fact. I mean, the NICU nurses used to come and eat their lunch and listen to us read while we were sitting by her crib. But anyway, my whole point is that I have that, and it's tied to Harry Potter, it's tied to those books, and it's tied to a horrible human being that has transphobic ideas. Now, and but I can get past that, right? Because of the fact that the good of that outweighs it in my heart as opposed to the things that they do. Now, I don't really consume anything that J.K. Rowling makes anymore. I don't, so I can say, well, financially, I'm not benefiting them in any way, shape, or form. But, um, but again, I'm not, throwing those books away. I'm not making the decision to like move on and like pretend that that doesn't exist anymore. And there are people out there that when the stuff like that happens, they're just like, I need to get rid of this, and we need to get rid of it and be done with it and move on with our lives, and that's fine. You can nuke it and just remove it. I mean, but I don't think we should immediately find fault with people that aren't going to process that, and they aren't going to immediately throw everything away. I when I was on social media and I posted my feelings about the fact that Neil Gaiman turns out to be a horrible human being. Um, that makes my memories of reading Sandman a little sour. And I had a few people, most people agreed, and then I had a few people say, well, I mean, he hasn't been found guilty of anything, and I hate that, and I don't want to rant on this too much here, but I hate that mentality. Like until you drag somebody into the court of fucking law and convict them of a crime, that means they can't possibly be a horrible human person. Like and then you can say, well, no, he probably is, but let's just reserve judgment until no, don't dig your heels. You can say I'm going to believe these allegations, these several allegations of horrible actions by this human, as opposed to the like who literally have like very little to gain other than the fact that they have been victims and they want people to know they were victims and they want people to know that this person is not a good person. And then and then you have one person who has everything to lose, money, fame, power, on and on, who is denying everything. Well, and admittedly, there has been a world where people have falsely accused people of crimes or falsely accused people of that person doing something horrible to them. I know of situations where that is the truth, but they are so very rare. I mean, most and that's just any crime. I mean, people that are falsely accused of crimes is a very, 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 very small percentage as opposed to the people that are accurately accused of crimes. But no, we have to have, and then they're like, oh, well, innocent until proven guilty, but that's just it, though. It's just, we aren't going to drag, uh, it's I agree. Court of public opinion can move quickly and too quickly in some situations, but for the most part, you usually, I mean, okay, for example, Vulture posted that giant article about, that was months in the making. Months. Why was it months? Probably to, collect all the data, do all the interviews, write the whole thing, and then you can bet your goddamn bottom dollar that when it came time to we want to print this, somebody said, let's get the lawyers in here and read the whole damn thing and make sure we can't get sued for any of this. And I'm sure they said, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say this, go back and rewrite it. And they went back and rewrote it. Okay, here's this. Well, you can't say that either, so go back and rewrite it. And that probably took several months to finish as well, because everybody wanted to make sure their butt was covered before they actually hit print send. And so, and that doesn't mean it's true. I mean, it's still alleged, but we're allowed to make up our minds and we're allowed to say, you know what? If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a frickin' duck. And in this situation, I think Neil Gaiman's a duck. And he could be as creative as all hell, just as hell, and make amazing things. But turns out he might be a piece of crap. I mean, for example, I mean, it's like Sandman. I love that comic. I read that. I have all of my originals. I have the trades, whatever. I mean, that was the same era as basically that and Dark Knight Returns. and Frank Miller, and also Alan Moore with Watchmen and other things. I mean, those were the people that were creating, in my mind, those were creating like the best freaking comic book stories. Well, it turns out now that Frank Miller might be a creepy SOB. I mean, and he's got his own bugaboos about him, and then also, now Neil Gaiman looks like he's just a predator. And then and Alan Moore, well, he's just a freaking nutcase. And maybe there's something to that, right? You have to be, and I'm not saying I guess in Alan Moore's case, him being a weirdo and thinking he's an actual wizard probably has something to do with the fact that he is as prolific and writes as well as he does. But but I don't know. I don't know what it is. Why is it that if you're like really, really creative or whatever, why do you have to be a creepo? I don't know I mean, and I guess there's people that are creepos that aren't creative or whatever, but it just seems like if you're gonna be somebody that's either really, really funny or really, really creative or write really well, there's got to be something about you that just makes you a horrible human being. And it just and as this stuff keeps getting released and keeps getting said, and I don't know, it's troublesome, right? And it's like that old thing, you never want to meet your heroes. And I've had situations where it's like, oh my gosh, this creator is so amazing, and then I meet them and they turn out to be a turd in real life. And it doesn't mean they're a turd overall. It means that like I caught them on a bad day. And that's a real thing because people are human, right? And they do human things. But there's a difference between having a bad day and not being all jovial and happy when they meet somebody who's a fan of them and they don't leave them with a good taste in their mouth. There's some difference between that and being somebody that has the shit that Neil Gaiman has been alleged to do. And it is horrible and it is vile and it is awful. And it makes me like despise him. One, and most importantly, number one, for the fact that he would do that to people. That like he is so when you stop and actually think about it. And like it's easy to talk about it in like blasé ways, but then you stop and you actually think about the mindset of like of you know just doing those things to somebody. And then you like say, "Oh my, what is wrong with you? What I mean, what world are you in that you do that?" And then on a like minor tiny like an ant to to the Mount Everest level of despising, how dare you make me not enjoy something that I have read and reread and loved for decades. So fuck you, fuck you for ruining that, and fuck you for being a horrible human being. This one really bothers me. And it bothers me because of a lot of things. And it bothers me because, like I said, it's like if this was like, and like somebody that like, that's awful, that is something that didn't create something that I loved, right? I mean, like, I'm sure the members of Metallica are horrible human beings, or they've done horrible things. But, you know, I still love their music, and as to now, like I haven't found anything about them, being uh, you know, anything public, right? So it's like, but you have like P. Diddy in like arrested for horrible, horrible things. And so what if like that was instead of was like a P. Diddy, it was like, oh yeah, James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett were arrested. And again, this is fiction. Like they're like, oh, did you hear? Yeah, James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett and Lars Ulrich and Jason Newsted, they were all arrested for running a human trafficking company or whatever that's been in place for since like 91. They billionaires because of it or whatever. I'd be like, fuck me, you know. So I can only imagine that, like, if you have, like, like, it's got to be like, but that's again alleged. That's like a complete fictional thing that I just created. Like, how would that affect me? I'd be like, oh my God. I mean, like, I've literally listened to Metallica since 80s, since the 80s, and I've been listening to it constantly for most of my life. I mean, I'd be just like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. And I don't know how you and anybody else like rectifies, like, can I still enjoy this? And I think the bottom line is that you just got to figure it out for yourself. Like, there's no hard and fast rule as to what is correct. I mean, I still can watch the movie Chinatown, even though Roman Polanski is a horrible human being. But I can't stand to listen to a single minute of Bill Cosby. Even though I used to laugh until my sides hurt at his comedy albums. I mean, I can't stand to listen to a single minute. Why? I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm able to like juggle those things and figure them out of my brain. I mean, it's just, and each of us just needs to figure that out. But I think what we all need to do is that in these situations where these people have done these horrible, horrible things, we need to recognize it. And we need to make sure that we recognize it. And we also need to make sure that we are showing the right amount of care and kindness and belief in the people that they have victimized. And make sure that others who have been victims, who are scared at the idea of like being able to come out and explain their side of the story and explain what has happened to them, feel that their stories will be heard and accepted and listened to and understood. And I think, if anything, I think that's my biggest takeaway from this. So, ah, as always, I don't have a script for these things. I just kind of go by my gut and I go by how I feel. Um, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong in so many different ways. I probably don't have the right take. And I'm here to learn and I'm here to listen and I'm here to learn why I'm wrong and why I need to change and be better. And I'm always looking for that. So thank you for listening to this. It's not really a rant, but it was really just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what this was. But I'm just going to call it a rant because I don't have a better word for it. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are. Um, tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm somewhere in between. Tell me, who is it? Who is it that's a horrible human that you can still enjoy their stuff? Who isn't? Whose stuff can't you enjoy anymore because they're a horrible human? I'd love to hear your take. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So take care of yourself. Be careful out there. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking.